All right, everybody, we are here. We're doing some division previews after the draft, and a couple trades have happened. So we're gonna start with the red and white division. Let me actually just see if I can slide. And the first team up is Stan and BC Lions. And I don't really know if there's much that we can say about this that it hasn't already been said. Stan, you can't draft to save your life. And that's really it. I mean, you took Trey Sermon, I'm pretty sure. Let me actually go to my notes. Let's see how bad you did in draft. I'll pass over to Mish.
Yeah, I mean, for BC Lions, we did a poll question. Everybody predicts BC Lions to finish last. Obviously, we're right there with the public here in the LOC. I got BC Lions here, initial draft grade. You're right. I got it to be a C plus, to be honest. I thought going Michelle before Abdullah and Benjamin was a mistake. He did go Tannehill before Winston and Ryan, where you could weigh that up. I think his best pick was Brian Edwards in round 9. As far as a prediction for Stan and BC Lions, I got him going 1-12 before flex 14.
So yes, I have BC Lions. I gave him a D minus. It's really based off of he took Tannehill. Tannehill lost his best wide receiver. Tannehill sucked last year. I think he threw 14 touchdown passes. And they drafted a light version of AJ Brown over there. And they look Jalen Woods, I think was like his third or fourth pick. I mean, he's probably TE4 on the Colts. He took Sonny Michel, over Haskins, Boston Scott, who went 2 rounds later. And let's be honest, Sonny Michel over in Miami is probably RB3 behind Chase Edmonds and Mostert. And they also took Trey Sermon. I mean, we all saw what happened last year. They drafted another running back in the 3rd round over in San Fran. So taking Trey Sermon at all doesn't make any sense to me. And I also have him going 1-12. Next up, we have 4th place, and we both have Bills Mafia. I actually have Bills Mafia going. I'm actually going to start with my preview there. I actually have him going 2-11. And I think if he makes a couple moves, I think he can actually probably squeak out 4 or 5 wins this year. And yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Kamish.
Yeah, I don't have him doing much better than your 2-11 prediction. I got him going 3-10. That was before the Mahomes trade, so I don't know how much that trade's affected his 3-10 record, but I think Bills Mafia is good enough to get to 3-10. In terms of draft grade, I gave him a slightly better grade than BC Lions. I'm giving him a B minus just because BC Lions actually was auto drafting late where all his picks were, which didn't really make much sense, where Bills Mafia was there the whole time. I thought Romeo Doubs was an outstanding pick in round 3. The pick that I criticized, though, was KJ Osborne before Jarvis Landry and Jahan Dotson. I thought that one could be criticized. But I do have Bills Mafia going 3-10. And based on where BC Lions lineup's at, he should be able to survive.
I agree. I have him going C+, as I gave BC Lions a D minus because his team's just horrible. I didn't really see any picks that Bills Mafia made that were outrageous. I'm actually a big fan of KJ Osborne. I think he's actually going to be pretty good this year. Taking him over Landry, probably not, but to me, it's a toss-up between those two guys. So yeah, C+. I mean, to me, if you have late picks, you don't make any good picks, you get a C. But yeah, C+ in my book, pretty good draft for him with the lack of picks he has. Next up, we have 3rd place, and you have your brother, and I have the age crew. I'll pass it over to you first.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, this is where me and you get a little bit different. And the reason why I have Brian go in 3rd place, well, first off, I have his record at 7-6, a winning record. A big part of it, of course, is due to the Bills Mafia and Stan 4 games there. In terms of the draft grade, I gave Brian a C. I thought, he got Kenneth Walker, which makes sense, his favorite team. Here's where it went awful, though. He went Christian Watson in round 2. We haven't even seen this guy yet. And all the positive news of Romeo Doubs, I just think that was way too risky with so much wide receiver talent still sitting there. Noah Fant before Zach Ertz and Tyler Higbee, I thought was also very questionable. And Devin Duvernay before Josh Palmer, to me, is what gives him a poor draft grade. And that's why I got him going 3rd. He had a lot of draft capital. He could have made a big difference this year, and I don't think he's going to make a big enough difference. Why did you go age crew at 3rd?
So age crew was third. I mean, I think he had an okay draft. There's nothing that stood out to me that's like, hey, this is a horrible draft. There's only one pick that I would completely different, and it was Mostert over Gus Edwards. I think Gus, give me any part of that Baltimore Ravens rushing attack versus Mostert, who yeah, he's been injured the last 2 years. Yes, Edwards was injured last year as well, but it's Miami, and Miami doesn't do anything. I have the age crew going actually. Let's see. I actually have him going 6 and 7. Um, but yeah, I think he did an okay draft. There's nothing that stood out. I think a lot of my actual looking at all the drafts, there's teams that did okay in the draft. Like there's nothing that stood out. I think the LOC is getting a lot better at drafting. So like I didn't want to nitpick everybody's pick. Like, oh, I would take this guy over this guy for every pick. But he did an okay draft, and the only one I would chose on him was the Mostert pick. But I think he has a hard schedule. I mean, looking at his schedule, he starts out playing you and your brother back-to-back weeks. So and then I don't know, it's going to be tough for him. I think that division outside of the two guys we just talked about can be anywhere from 10-3 to 6-7. Like it just depends on how the next three teams show up. And next up, you have the H shirt, and I have yourself. And I'll be honest with you, I am not a fan of your team, man. Like I have you going 7 and 6. And I just think the draft capital that you had, you could have just done better. Like well, there's first place, but we'll go back to this real quick. Yeah, I don't. It's just not a thing in your team. Like I think you make a lot of picks. You're like, hey, I need this rookie linebacker now. I need this rookie linebacker now. It's preseason week 2 or 3, depending on how you want to look at it. Like I think you're moving too many parts, and that's going to screw over your team in the long run because you just don't know where they're going to be.
Fair enough. I mean, the reason why I got age crew going 8 and 5, and I'll get into me here in a minute too when we get to first place. I think Adrian's done well since he's been in the LOC. And when I look at his roster, it is pretty rock solid on the offensive side. I think his IDPs is where I have age crew finishing second versus me, to be honest. When I look at his draft, I thought the first 4 picks were pretty good. I mean, he went Tua first. And it's easy to see why he probably went to being a Dolphins fan, but Trevor Lawrence was still on the board, so I thought that was a bit questionable. Then he went Gainwell, Dawson Knox, and Raheem Mostert, which I think, again, getting 2 running backs and a tight end, we know how those picks or that positional group is a premium in the LOC. So I'm going to give him a B draft grade. I think he did okay, but his IDPs, and I noticed he went kicker early. Things like this equate for the B draft grade, but he's been a rock solid owner since he's been here, and 8 and 5 records where I got him.
Yeah, I mean, going back to you real quick, like there's 2 picks I don't like of yours. They're both tight ends actually. You took Turner and you took Ogletree over Trotman and Parham, who are probably both TE2s on their team, versus Turner, who's definitely TE3. Ogletree, even at the time, he was probably projected to be TE3. But now it just looks even worse in my opinion. Now he's probably TE4. But I gave you a draft grade of B+ or A-, however you want to look at it there. So I did like the Pickens pick. I did like the Jones, the Polk, and the Campbell's picks. I think those were good picks. But I just don't like the makeup of your team. I'll be honest with you there. And moving on to number 1, as we previously saw, you have yourself going 1, and I have Brian going 1. And as you said, there's only one pick out of Brian's that I did not like, and that was the Christian Watson over KJ Osborne. I think that was a horrible pick. I think even pre-draft, going into the draft, if you would have just read up on Christian Watson, nobody thinks the kid has any talent. Like none of the people think, any of the fantasy reporters, nobody thinks the kid has talent. And in the camp, Dobbins was playing 10 times better than he was, and I gave him an A because the rest of his draft was great in my opinion. The Christian Watson over KJ Osborne pick is horrible, and I have him going 10 and 3 actually.
Yeah, here's a surprising thing. So we did the poll question, obviously, who's going to finish first in the red and white, and me and you have 2 different owners than what the general public thinks. Everybody thinks the age crew is going to win the division. I had age crew going 8 and 5. I have myself going 8 and 5 as well. I agree with you now in hindsight, the Andrew Ogletree pick stings now, but really only because of the injury. The other one I'm actually kind of concerned with is George Pickens, to be honest, because let's face it, he still is third in the pecking order there. And I really was thinking about the future with Pickens, knowing that Deuce has such a strong lineup this year. For myself, I gave my draft grade as an A- because honestly, how you said Cole Turner wasn't a great pick. I think Cole Turner is the starting tight end in Washington. And with the injury to Logan Thomas there, they're keeping him out of preseason here. I know he's nursing a hamstring injury, but they're not rushing him back. And that shows me that's because he's going to start there. I do agree. I do have some holes, I think, in the flex spots that could cause me some issues down the road. But I'm hoping one of these rookie flyers like a Jordan Mason or someone like that does pan out. 8-5 for myself. I believe in myself, and I have a feeling that I am still going to find a way to win that red and white division.
It's very likely that you can.